Now, today is Saturday, the 22nd of March 2025. So that means it's not long now to the beginning of the new financial tax year. So the 1st to the 6th of April is when our new government is bringing in all the new tax laws. So the government have got a £22 billion hole to fill in. So how are they going to do that? Well, they're doing things like increasing the national insurance contributions made by employers, and they're also going to be taxing electric vehicles for the very first time. So if your car was registered between the 1st of April 2017 to now, you're going to have to pay £195 tax. But I do believe if you pay it now, so before the 1st of April, you won't then have to pay the £195, you'll get it free. So make sure you get online and get it sorted out before the 1st of April, so you won't have to pay £195 until this time next year. But what else have this new government brought in? Now, back in April 2024, the old Tory government delayed the release of the Clean Heat Market Mechanism, or the CHMM. So basically, we called it the boiler tax. So what's this boiler tax then? So basically, the CHMM supports the development of the low carbon electric heat pumps and not gas boilers. So manufacturers of gas and oil boilers in the UK market must meet the targets and the sales of heat pumps to their sales of fossil fuel boilers. So depending on how many boilers they sell to how many heat pumps they don't sell, they're going to be fined. Now, this is only going to really apply to the larger boiler manufacturers such as Ideal, Baxi, Valent / Glowworm and Worcester. So what is actually this clean heat market mechanism? So what they're saying is, in the first year of sales, so from the 1st of April 2025 to the 1st of April 2026, for this first year, 6% of the number of sales of LPG and natural gas boilers over 19,999, or 6% of oil boilers, has to be heat pumps. So basically, in a nutshell, if they sell 25,000 boilers, they will need to sell 300 heat pumps, because 6% of 5,000, so the first 20,000 are free, is 300. So that's what they would have to sell. So what are they going to be fined for not selling these heat pumps? Now, in the original Tory CHMM, it was going to be 3% in the first year, with a £3,000 fine for every heat pump not sold, and then in the second year it was going to go up to 6%. Now, this new one, so the new CHMM, is starting off at 6%, but they will be fined £500 for every missed sold heat pump. So is this going to be achievable for the boiler manufacturers, and are boiler manufacturers going to be putting up the prices of the boilers to compensate for this? Well, in the old scheme they did on the 1st of January. They put the prices up by between £90 and £150. But they haven't done it this time round. So basically they may think it's achievable. But let's see the other parts of this CHMM. Now, what doesn't apply to the CHMM? Now, first of all, hybrid heat pumps. Now, if you don't know what a hybrid heat pump is, well, basically it's a combi boiler that runs the hot water and central heating, but at a certain temperature, outside temperature, the heat pump becomes more efficient than the gas boiler, so it swaps over to the heat pump. And basically you would have a hybrid system if your insulation wasn't good enough, or you just don't have the space for a cylinder. Now, a hybrid heat pump counts as half a sale towards a heat pump. Now, things that don't apply to it: boilers over 70 kilowatt net don't comply with the CHMM, and also only hydronic or water heat pumps apply to it. Air to air don't. Now, sales to new builds don't count towards it, and that could be a heat pump or a gas boiler. You can't count them in the CHMM. And also sales abroad. So if the boiler manufacturer can say the boiler is being sold outside the UK, then that doesn't count towards the boiler sales and the CHMM. So it's only boilers sold in the UK. Now, realistically, is this going to happen? And how achievable is all this? Well, first of all, this is all being brought in because of the Energy Security and Net Zero Department, or basically the MP Ed Miliband, and the Climate Change Committee, the CCC, which has published its 7th carbon budget, which it states that half of the UK homes should have heat pumps in them in the next 15 years. But at the moment, there's literally less than 1% of the UK homes has a heat pump. Now, also in the report by the CCC was something that isn't really a surprise to me, is they say no to hydrogen boilers, and they say hydrogen should not play a part in heating the homes in the UK. So all that time, effort and money boiler manufacturers have gone to designing and promoting boilers being hydrogen ready is now completely out of the window, and they say they should concentrate on selling air source heat pumps. Anyway, well, let's have a look and see at some of the figures to see exactly how far we are off meeting all these targets. Now then, there are around 26.4 million homes in England and Wales. And that's roughly broken down to 24.9 million in England and 1.5 million in Wales. I wonder how many sheep there are. Anyway, there are 23 million homes in the UK. Out of this 26.4 have a gas boiler. And around 280,000 homes at the moment have a heat pump. So, if they want to get half the homes in the UK heat pumps in within the next 15 years, well, that's some task, I'll tell you. Now, UK home heating only makes up about 18% of the UK's greenhouse gas, or the CO2 emissions. Only 18%. So even if we go 100% heat pumps, we're only reducing our CO2 or our greenhouse gas emissions by 18%. It's not a massive amount, is it? Now, to reach these targets, the government are giving out grants for heat pumps. Now, this year they have announced they are giving £295 million towards the installation of heat pumps. That is £7,500 available for anybody who wants a heat pump installed under the NCS scheme. Now, this is how the government thinks this £7,500 is going to reach their targets. They're going to increase, or they think it's going to increase, the heat pump sales from 60,000 a year to 450,000 by 2030. And then they want 1.5 million a year being installed by 2035. Now, they've got this 1.5 million a year being installed because approximately at the moment 1.6 to 1.7 million gas boilers every year are changed. Now, I personally think these figures, they're living in cloud cuckoo land. Now, I run the heat pump course for engineers to change over from installing gas boilers to installing air source heat pumps. Now, it's free. It's a completely free course. They just have to commit 1 day a week for 7 weeks. And we don't get anybody on it. Or we might get 2 or 1 or 3 who are interested. But there's 12 places available every week. And we don't run it. Because engineers are not interested in installing heat pumps. So, if engineers are not interested in installing the heat pumps, how's the government going to reach these figures? Where are they going to get the engineers to actually install these heat pumps? Now, I've had a heat pump installed here in the centre because we need it for training. And the heat pump alone costs £5,000. The cylinder costs just over £2,000. Then the electrics cost me just over £1,000. And then obviously there was my time and my son Tom's time to install it all, plus the pipework and the fittings and everything else that goes with it. That's just to buy the materials. So I think the £7,500 will kind of cover the material costs, but the whole system needs upgrading. It's not like changing a combi boiler now where you're in and out in a day, where you can change a combi for a combi in a day. And 80% of the UK homes have a combi boiler in them that use gas. Now, it's just not realistic figures for me, personally. If you think this is achievable, then put down in the comments and tell me and prove to me how these figures are going to be achievable when we technically don't have the engineers to install it for them. So here's the figures that are going to prove that we're going to be struggling for engineers to install these heat pumps. Now, at the moment there are around 120,000 gas engineers in the UK. We have around 11,000 qualified heat pump engineers. But they could be plumbers or they could be gas engineers. It is estimated that we need about 41,000 engineers working full-time installing heat pumps to be able to install this 60,000 heat pumps a year by 2028. But then it does say we need around 122,000 qualified engineers to be working full-time on heat pumps by 2035 to be able to install this 1.6 million heat pumps per year. Now, there's a bit of a difference there as well, because a vast majority of heating engineers, gas safe registered heating engineers, work on their own. But when you're installing heat pumps, you cannot work on your own. Now, technically, does that mean you'd need 2 engineers that are qualified to work on heat pumps? Not really, but you would need 2 qualified plumbers to be working on there. Also, you need things like an electrician to wire them in, and then also somebody who's capable of commissioning the appliances. That could still be the same engineer who installed it. So this figure of 122,000, I think they've just nicked it because we've got around 120,000 gas engineers. We're possibly going to need more to be installing 1.6 million heat pumps a year. Also, a heat pump can take around a week to install correctly. Upsizing the system, putting an unvented cylinder in, the preparation for the actual ground for the heat pump to go in there, all the insulation that has to be changed in the property. Whereas a gas boiler, you can be in and out in a day. So what do you think about these figures? Put down below and let us know. So I think, as you've seen so far as we're going through this, it technically is going to be pretty damn impossible to achieve what they want to do. Now, between UB and the gatepost, this is what could happen, might happen, I don't know. Anyway, from the 1st of April to the 30th of June this year, these are the standard gas and electric prices. This obviously could change depending on your supplier. So electricity, 27.03p per kilowatt hour with a standing charge of 53.8p per day. Gas, 6.99p per kilowatt hour with a standing charge of 32.67p per day. I think the only way you're going to convince the general public and just get rid of your gas boiler is to completely swap it around. So that means electricity is a quarter of the price that gas is. But is that achievable? Well, no, not considering we make 50% of our electricity in the UK with gas. That would put the prices up again. And according to our government, they were going to reduce our electric bill by 300 quid, weren't they? And it's actually gone up about 150 quid, hasn't it? So, is this achievable? So, before I go, I'd just like to leave you with something to think about. Now, for those of you who can remember the 1960s, it was all about there was going to be no oil in 10 years because of the OPEC crisis. So fuel went up and they had to tax, everything went up, and it was all going to be a big disaster. But we still got oil and gas, haven't we? Anyway, in 1970s, it was all about the ice age in 10 years, that we're all going to freeze to death. Now they're saying it was a myth, and it didn't really get told in the 1970s. I kind of remember it, I think. But in the 1980s, I do remember it was all about acid rain, and we were going to get no crops in 10 years. It's going to be killing all the plants and animals if we didn't do something about the acid rain. Then in the 1990s, they changed the acid rain to the ozone layer is going to be gone in 10 years. We're going to end up burning to death if we didn't get rid of the CFC gases. And now they're saying it was that successful, the ozone layer's back to normal. Then in 2000, it changed to the ice caps melting in 10 years, meaning the sea levels are going to rise and we're all going to be up to here in water. We're going to lose half of the UK and half the land. It's all going to be under the sea. It's not happened yet, has it? Then in 2010, they changed the ice caps melting in 10 years to we've now got global warming. We've got to stop the temperature of the planet going above 1.5 degrees or again we're all going to burn to death. And now in 2020, we're now 2025, they changed it to the climate crisis, and we need to reduce the CO2 levels because they found out it's the CO2 what's driving climate change. Now some people believe all this, some people don't. Put down in the comments what you think, guys. Is this clean heat market mechanism just another way of taxing us so they can get more money out of us? Or is it something to do with reducing carbon emissions and saving the planet? Anyway, hopefully you've liked the video and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.